You've heard of Pulsechain, right? We've got a lot of people that are excited about Pulsechain launching. Well, what are some expectations? What is something that's based in a reality that we could take a look at? Not these pie in the sky, really ridiculous numbers. What is something that is using other data to look at these to see where we might go, right? What I've done is compared the layer one, like Solana and ADA, Cardano, the first 100 days, 365 days, and 730 days to get an idea of the return in those, because those are layer ones, to see where we might be with $1,000 invested over those time periods I just mentioned. And then, because those are layer ones, what about comparing the person who created something to another project that they created to get an idea? So we also did the same thing with Hex. What does $1,000 in Hex look like on day one versus day 100, day 365, and day 730, which is 2 years? So with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. Anybody who wants to support the channel can check out some links down below, or most important is your time. So let's get into this. So we used CoinMarketCap, and we went back to the beginning of time for each one of these tokens that we just mentioned. And then we just calculated the date from the start of 100 days, 365, 730, etc. We put that all into this spreadsheet. So let's take a look over here at Cardano. So Cardano launched in 2017, I believe it was, 10/1/2017, at 2 cents, almost 3 cents, 2.5 cents, right? And if you put in $1,000, you would have gotten 38,565 shares. Now, 100 days later, that would yield you about $30,000, a little bit over $30,000, $30,500. Awesome return, right? You 30x'd your return. 1 year later after launch, so not from the 100 days, but from the beginning, you'd have $3,000, right? So you're 100 days in and you're like, oh my goodness, I just 30 plus x'd my $1,000 in 100 days. Remember, 100 days is just over 3 months. So you're like, I had $1,000 and now I've got $30,000 in 90 days roughly. Obviously just over 90 days. Then come up to 365 days and you've got $3,182. So you've had a 10x decrease in price relative to 100 days, but still a tripling of $1,000. So it's still not bad in a year to have a tripling of your money. That's really astonishing, right? It's really good, especially if you think of like traditional finance. 2 years in, you'd have 1,500. So you'd have half as much as what you start as the 1 year mark, and you'd have a substantially less than at 100-day mark. So if we were to use this as an example, $1,000 might be $1,500. Now, one of the things that I've noticed that we're going to touch on is an insight, because we looked at 3 different projects, right? Cardano, Solana, and Hex. And each one of these has a different launch date with succession further into the future, right? 2017, Solana, 2020, and Hex, I forgot the date of when Hex was launched. You guys can let me know down below in the comments, or let's just check it out real quick and see when they actually launched. That was in the 19th, or 2019, right? So 2020, 2019, and 2017. Solana, 77.5 cents, 0.7768 cents. So $1,000 would get you 1,287 shares. Cool, awesome, right? Well, that would yield $1,000, $1,123, 100 days later, 36,000 roughly 1 year later. So you take your money, you take $1,000, and in 1 year, you've 36x'd your money. You have 36,000 from your $1,000. That's incredible. That's phenomenal, right? When I was trading Tesla options and taking the profit and putting it into Tesla. The most I had was 300 or 400%. You can check out from this channel here. I think it was between 300 and 400% over the course of a year or something like that. So these returns are multiple X times what I had, right? If I had 400%, this is 36%. So that's what, so that's 8 times what I had, and I already had a 400% increase. So it's 8 times a 400% increase. That's incredible, right? 2 years in, $114,000. So somebody puts in $1,000 and they just forget about it. They're like, okay, cool, I put $1,000 in. I'm just gonna leave that shit there. I'm gonna continue hustling. I'm gonna continue increasing my income, continue focusing on my life. And 2 years later, they've got 114x on their money. That's amazing. So, what do we think Pulsechain could do, right? We could have 114 and 2x. It's possible, right? It's definitely 100% possible. Actually, I think that's 1,000. I think I misspoke, right? You go from 1,000 to $114,000. Like, that's incredible in 2 years. Hex started out at 0.002652 cents, right? So $1,000 would get you 3.7 million hex. 3.7 million hex when it launched in 2019. 100 days later, that $1,000 would have given you an 84% return, or another $800. So you're like, that's pretty dope, right? Not as much. Actually, it's more than the other two combined, right? 365 days later, it's not as much as Solana. Remember, Solana had 36,000%. I'm sorry, 36,000 was the amount they would have had 1 year in from $1,000. Hex had 21,647 and 81 cents. So still an astonishing return. 1 year, you've 21x'd your money. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Now, the 2-year mark is incredible. $1,000 in. Remember, you get 3.7 plus million shares of Hex. Now you've got $750,000. $750,000. So, let's try to pull some takeaways on this and wrap this up. These two projects, I personally don't know a ton about them other than their layer 1. Solana seems to be, and I don't fully understand Solana at this point, a lot cheaper, a lot faster. It has a different consensus that they utilize for Solana. I think it's proof of, I don't remember what it is. You can let me know down in the comments. But Solana is clearly doing well. Cardano is not doing that well, and I don't really know much about Cardano at all whatsoever. I think something recently in the news I saw that there's an increase in developer activity for Cardano, so maybe ADA is going to start to do something. I don't know. But Hex, even though it's not a layer 1, is probably the most accurate representation of what has happened. Right? So if somebody puts $1,000 into Hex, they would have 2 years in had $752,000, $742,000. So that's pretty substantial. Remember, they would have had a hole through the whole entire time. And at some point, maybe you're at 100 grand. Some people are going to be taking money off the table, right? So $750,000, assuming none was sold. So what could we draw? What could we think of for Pulsechain? Well, if somebody got in at the beginning, if they put in $1,000 and they got 10,000 points, right? They would have 1 million shares here, or 1 million points, right? Or 10 million points. I'm sorry, 10 million points. So depending on where it launches, I think from my elementary understanding of this, I think that Pulsechain has the capability that is greater than Solana. I think that there is a argument to be had that the returns could be at least what Hex is, because it's from the same dude, where the capability is, I believe, and I don't know because I don't know enough about Solana, the capability is probably similar to, if not greater than Solana, and the returns based upon the owner, right? This has different features, so that obviously plays into it. Could be somewhere on the low end in 2 years of $115,000 to in excess of $750,000 in 2 years. I do believe personally that there's a lot more excitement, primarily due to what we've seen take place in Canada, stealing people's money, what we are currently seeing take place in the Ukraine and Russia. I think that these things taking place, and like some of the whack job stuff that's going on in America, right, in California and New York and some of the very liberal places, I think the awareness of projects and the money flowing into crypto, in my personal opinion, would indicate that the returns, remember the latest one here is Solana, that was 2020, that was 2 years ago, right? 4/10/2020 is currently almost the 10th of March, it's the 9th, right? So this one here is, by the way, this return right here for Solana, 88,000, I'm sorry, 114,000 is actually 23 months, not 24 months, because it hasn't been out, just a caveat there. So I do believe that this could potentially be much bigger than Hex due to the airdrop, or like the everybody getting free tokens. So if that's the case, say if there was even a multiple of what happened with Hex over the last 2 years, I mean, if you take $750,000 and if you just add a 3 multiple on that, right, you got 2.1 million, right? So like there's a 2.2 million, right? 2.215 or something, right? So you have a substantial amount of upside here, and on a worst case scenario, it still looks like in 2 years you're gonna make 50% on money. 50% of the money in traditional finance would be awesome, right? 25% per year on average. That would be great. But I think that the return here could be easily in excess of $750,000 over the first 2 years. When you look at things in the very short term, it's very hard to tell. Remember, because this came out in April of 2020. So Solana came out in April 2020. You remember what happened in March of 2020? That's when the government told you couldn't do shit in life, right? So there was a lot of increase in awareness of crypto at that time, right? And we're going through that same thing right now. And the awareness in general is increasing, and people understand that if they actually want to take control of their financial future and have control of their money, this is the way to go. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, take a second to share it with somebody else. I also have some cool videos coming up where we're going to do some analysis on Pulsechain and Pulsechain, like which website is more popular, because that's going to give us an understanding of what project is more popular. Yes, I know they're related. Yes, I know they're working together, but what one has one could have a bigger impact or pop right at the beginning, because the one is going to be the bridge, right, where you can trade stuff from Ethereum. So it could be very interesting. We're going to get that next, so make sure you press that subscribe button, the bell notification if you have any interesting tidbits of information, or if you're aware of how to check the volume of pairs on Uniswap 3 or 2, let me know over on Twitter. There's a link down below. Or say if you like fitness stuff, say what's up on Instagram. There's also a link down below. I appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.